In the fall of 2011, in a small town in Kentucky, a masked man was spotted lurking around the streets between midnight and 2 a.m. A group of teens took the law into their own hands to solve the mystery of who the masked man was. They were never seen again. This footage is all that remains.
I'm fully aware.
The group consisted of 5 teens. Kirsten, the daughter of the local funeral home director. Tina, a local activist.
Is that a clue?
Sydney, the studious valedictorian.
I have a hypothesis.
Kendall, the daughter of the local mayor. And Parker, the guy who owned a camera.
Okay.
To tell the story properly, we must start at the beginning. It was a cold Kentucky night when the masked man was first seen. A local single mom, Shelley, caught the footage of the masked man on her mini DVD camera. The local police were called, but there was no trace of the masked man. The news spread all around East Kentucky. Parker was quick to say, "Hey gang, let's get a milkshake and catch this creep on camera." The group started off strong, looking for clues.
We are looking for mysteries, so...
Crime-solving mysteries.
But quickly, the group got distracted.
Okay. Wow, I look hot. Sorry.
It's like a really bad sex tape. So hard that my quick. Go!
The side's shaking. Hold this. You want?
Oh, it's a doggy!
That was a scary doll.
It is my birthday on Monday.
Birthday stripper! My phone!
Soon, the local teens returned to the first sighting of the masked man, which has come to be known as the parking lot.
Hey, so we're just walking back to the parking lot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, everything's black and white except your hair.
Oh, that's cool.
That's amazing.
Let me see. Wait,
I think there's a mystery about. Is there? We should solve it, you guys.
Yeah!
The group found a mysterious clue. The mysterious elephant statue was never seen again, until 5 years later, in a town 2 cities over, in a burned-down house. The only thing that survived the fire was the small elephant statue. The elephant now resides in an antique store, which has had 3 mysterious small fires. The teens found the masked man and chased after him. This is the last they were ever seen. Where did they go? What happened to them? Are they still out there? Who is the masked man? Did someone make the wrong move? Why did Kirsten's father, the local funeral home director, have 5 teen-sized coffins already ordered? Did Tina, the activist, piss off the wrong person? Maybe the local power plant owner. Maybe he got tired of her always picketing his power plant. Or maybe Sydney, the studious one, learned too much about local politics at the library. Or could it be Kendall's father, the mayor, didn't pay off his debts to his loan shark, leaving his daughter to pay the ultimate price? Or could it be Parker? Did he film something he wasn't supposed to see? Who was the masked man of East Kentucky?
Tina Gina Anderson was born on a cold winter's day at her home.
This was a water birth at home because her mother could not get out of the bathtub and get to the phone in time, so she had to give birth to Tina at home on this cold winter's day. Tina was born to Joe and Myra Anderson, a meager family from a middle-class life. This family would struggle financially for a very long time, but what they didn't have in money, they had for in love. Lots of love continued on in this family. Tina did see that her family was struggling constantly, and this caused her to start protesting anything and everything. She saw her financial struggles coming from the so-called man. Tina would protest the man any way she could. To anyone who would ask, she would have something to say, trying to take down the patriarchy. Tina's biggest enemy would become the local power plant and its owner, Charles M. Waldorf. Tina would spend hours a day at his power plant picketing and protesting. She would tell anyone that would listen that she had a problem with that power plant and what it was doing to their local economy and to the air. The pollution was rising because of this power plant. Tina also protests the low wages and the hostile work environment. The people at this power plant didn't even have dental. Tina would protest this constantly. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is that Tina's father, Joe, used to work at the power plant back in the 90s. He had long, luxurious, flowing hair that one day got caught in one of the machines. The machine briskly cut off his hair in a very blunt cut. His hair never grew back the same. He wasn't hurt at all, but it was a bad look for a very long time. Charles M. Waldorf also fired him instantly because the hair did happen to ruin the machine and cause a lot of problems that day. Joe Anderson would tell everybody that he lost his job because Charles M. Waldorf didn't like him or his haircut. Tina really had a problem with this, and that is one of the main reasons why Charles became one of her arch rivals. It wasn't just for activism. She had a vendetta against the man who fired her father and cut his hair terribly. Besides all of her friends in town, Tina had a very active online life. She would frequent many activism forums, slowly rising in the ranks until she became a mod. People loved her on these forums and would seek her help and share lots of secrets with her. Tina would create lots of friends, but especially became friends with Loner Wolf 6969, a sexy young guy who loved pop-punk music and had a need to invoke anarchy on the patriarchy. Sooner or later, Loner Wolf 6969 and Tina would become quick friends, then online lovers. This would become a very close relationship and become her main boyfriend. All of her friends in real life, though, had a problem with this. They insisted he must be some sort of catfish. He was some sort of creep. He had to be a creepy old guy. But Tina insisted no, he was just like them and the same age as all of them. She would even show a photo of him. The photo conveniently didn't show his face, just his abs. So we really can't know. Was Loner Wolf 6969 someone the same age as them, or was he a creep? Could he have shown up on that fateful Thanksgiving night? Could he have put on a mask trying to scare his girlfriend and something went wrong? Or was he in fact a creep who was going to try to kidnap her and her friend? We did some research and his IP address was 6 miles out of town that night. Easy enough for him to drive in town, throw on a creepy mask and chase them down. But Loner Wolf 6969 was not the only person that Tina was friends with online. She also had a budding relationship with anime hot girl 69420 heart emoji. We did some research and found out that anime hot girl 69420 heart emoji is actually a girl named Evangeline. Evangeline claimed to be the same age as Tina, but she was in fact 6 months older. Maybe Evangeline was jealous of Loner Wolf 6969 and Tina's relationship and wanted to have Tina all to herself. So on that Thanksgiving night, she went down and hunted Tina and the friends. We checked in with Evangeline. She claimed that Thanksgiving she was across the country in Nebraska City, but can you really trust her? She lied about her age online. Can you trust anything she says? Through our research, there's no proof to prove that she was there, but I don't trust her. Sadly, Tina's legacy will go down in history as the girl who went missing, but she was much more than that. If it wasn't for Tina, the local library would have been shut down, burning all the books and closing its doors. But because of her activism, they stayed open. Tina also chained herself to that tree on 7th, keeping that old rotted wood growing. So if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have that tree down there anymore. Who snuffed out Tina's bright light? Was it her arch enemy Charles M. Waldorf? Was it her so-called boyfriend, Loner Wolf 6969? Or was her secret mistress, Evangeline? We may never truly know what happened to Tina on that fateful Thanksgiving night. Kristen Adams was the daughter of the local funeral home director. Kristen absolutely hated that her father owned a funeral home. Despite it making lots of money for the family, she hated living above a funeral home. She said it constantly smelled and made her very uncomfortable to walk down in the morning and find a bunch of people crying on her couch over a dead body. This is fair for any young person to say. She found it disgusting to live in a home with so many dead bodies. Kristen would try to have a teary disposition though. Despite her father having a very morbid, dark career, she tried her best to stay happy and positive. People would always comment how Kristen was a sweet, light-hearted person who could never hurt a fly. But is that true? Do we truly know? Was Kristen as kind as people said she was? As far as we can tell, yes, she was. But you never know what's going on behind the scenes. Kristen would hang out with her friends constantly, despite her father having a problem with this. Her father did not like Parker, did not like Tina, did not like Sydney, and did not like Kendall. He thought they were very below his daughter. But Kristen in fact loved her friends. She spent time with them constantly and would always do whatever she could to be around her chosen family. Sad to say that all of these children would go missing together. Kristen didn't have much of a social life outside of her group of friends. She wasn't big on social media, and there's really no proof she ever went online. Except in the videos that her friend Parker would post about her, and the rest of the group. Kristen didn't have any boyfriends or love interests, so that's what makes it even more suspicious when the police claim that Kristen and all the friends must have met somebody online and run off with them. Kristen, in fact, didn't even have an email. She barely knew how to use websites. She didn't know what the World Wide Web was. Despite her father having a very creepy and morbid career, Kristen tried her best to get into acting and art. She did not want to have a medical career or any kind of medical examiner's career, despite her father always pressuring her to get into the family business. Sadly though, this would be her ultimate demise. Kristen was a lot of fun and had a big heart. She would wear lots of wigs in the video and would make lots of funny comments. Sadly, one of the last videos they posted was a video that would be very ironic one day. They posted a video of Kristen dressed in a blonde wig pretending to be a victim of a murderer. Could this have been foreshadowing for her actual real life? Did somebody watch this video online and come to town to hurt her because they enjoyed it so much trying to recreate the art? Was Kristen's father, the funeral home director, tired of her playing with her friends and wanted to kill her to prove a point that she'd be better off dead than to not be part of the family business? Kristen didn't have many enemies, so it makes it even more strange that she would go missing. Everyone else in this crazy case seems to have plenty of enemies and plenty of problems with people, but not our Kristen. Kristen was loved by most and surrounded by loved ones, so who would want to hurt this poor girl? There would be comments on some of their videos saying, "Wow, I really love that Kristen girl. I hope someone doesn't kill her." Or other comments as, "Wow, I want to skin her and wear her skin like a skin suit." Could this mysterious poster be a crazy person who wanted to get to her? Or was it all an elaborate prank? If we look closely at these comments, we can see a very familiar name. Loner Wolf 6969, one of Tina's online friends. So, could this have been a mysterious friend of Tina trying to prank Kristen? Or was in fact Loner Wolf 6969 actually a creep trying to hurt this group? Kristen never paid it any mind because she didn't really know about all the scary comments. Parker, who was in charge of their online presence, would try to hide them from her and try to keep her from seeing the scary comments. But they were in fact out there, and on the night when they all went missing, the scariest comment had appeared. "I see you, I see you. I'm gonna getcha, I'm gonna getcha." We are starting to see a bit of a list here. Kristen's father, the funeral home director. He might have wanted to kill his daughter so that she wouldn't be running around making a fool of herself. Or was it Loner Wolf 6969? Did he have an obsession with both Tina and Kristen? Or was it something else much more malevolent? Could it have been a drifter who saw them and wanted to hurt them? Could it have been a local police officer who just snapped? Maybe Kristen ran off once and for all, tired of living under her father's shadow. Her father's morbid, dark, scary shadow. All we can do is hope that one day we find out what happened to poor Kristen. Was she a victim of circumstances, or was she a villain?
maybe her sunny disposition was all a facade, so she could be the one to go after her friends and her father. Kendall Moore was the daughter of Mayor Moore, but she was so much more. Kendall also had a blog. Kendall would blog about her everyday life, from what she ate to what movies she wanted to see. Not many people read this blog, but every single day Kendall would add to it as if it was her own diary. Sadly though, this was public. Lots of Kendall's everyday musings would come out and no one really seemed to care or notice. Until one day, Kendall posted about her father constantly going out and gambling. This caused a lot of trouble for the family. Kendall's mother had already left a few years beforehand because of said gambling. But now that she was going public about it, Mayor Moore was mad. Could Mayor Moore have really kidnapped and hurt his daughter, all in order to shut her up from posting on her blog? In Kendall's defense, she didn't think it was a big deal for her to post about this. This was her everyday life. This was something she was personally going through constantly. She didn't think there was anything wrong with her posting about her father's gambling. But of course, the people who voted for him saw a big problem in this. A woman named Shelley was the first to report about this. She was the one who said, "Hey, did anyone see Kendall's post about her father having a gambling addiction? I hope he's not taking our taxpayer dollars and gambling with them." Little did Shelley know if she was right. Kendall's father, Mayor Moore, was in fact gambling with the town money. Kendall shrugged it off and said, "It's no big deal. It's just money. We can make some more." But this was not true. Her father was very deep with loan sharks. Could one of these loan sharks have been the person who hurt Kendall and kidnapped her and her friends? We may never quite know. After posting these musings, the local news did pick up Kendall's story and start talking about it constantly. Kendall was very excited to hear her name on the news and was very excited for people to know about her blog. Little did she know they were not talking about her for the right reasons. They were in fact talking about her and her father and how her father might be embezzling money. Kendall would continue to keep posting about this, every single day posting something new. "Ha ha, Daddy just lost some money. Ha ha, we have a brand new yacht. Ha ha, we lost the yacht." Little did Kendall know this was in very bad taste. Also, Kendall would start talking about her so-called stepmoms. Mayor Moore was infamous for having many young girls at his job, and many young girls work for him. But he would start to date them in very inappropriate ways, leading to Kendall to believe that she had plenty of new stepmoms. We are not quite sure if Kendall took this in a sarcastic way or if she genuinely thought these women were going to be her new moms. After her mother did leave, Kendall had always wanted a mother-like figure. Mayor Moore was not the type to settle down again. Fool him once, shame on you. Fool him twice, shame on him. He was not going to fall for it again, and he refused to ever get remarried. He just had plenty of young girlfriends going through his office and through his home. He would spend lots of taxpayer dollars on these girls and help them live a lavish life. This could have also led to his downfall. He wasn't just gambling with the money, he was also spending it on young girls and treating them to plenty of dinners and plenty of jewelry. Kendall would get upset by this because for one birthday he got her a cheap necklace that turned her neck green because it was fake, but the other girls got real jewelry. She didn't understand why his fake girlfriends got nice things and her, his real daughter, got nothing. This was a point of contention on her blog. She posted one day, "Daddy got me this ugly necklace, I hate it." Kendall also did post a photo of this mysterious item on her blog the night she went missing. This said item has been found in different thrift stores. This item has caused much mischief and much issues with anyone who has owned it. Could that be one of the main reasons why Kendall went missing? Is because she did find this object and take a photo of it? This object is a mysterious small elephant statue that causes misfortune everywhere it goes. Kendall was a sweet, kind girl with a big heart who liked to post about her day. Not many people noticed, except when it truly mattered. People noticed when she went missing, and people noticed when her father was gambling. But did anyone ever truly see Kendall? Did anyone ever truly ask how Kendall was doing? Could her father have really kidnapped her and hurt her to keep her quiet about his gambling? Could some of his loan sharks attacked her as retribution for her father stealing so much money from the town and borrowing it from loan sharks? Could Kendall's mom have come back in town and swept her away to a better life where she wouldn't have cheap jewelry? All these things could be the reasons why Kendall and her friends went missing. Or maybe it was the mysterious item that Kendall and her friends found on that Thanksgiving night. Sydney Petal was the valedictorian of her class. She also had all straight A's. But under this smarty pants attitude, there lay a secret. Sydney once was in a spelling bee, and she won. But no one knows this. She cheated. The only person who ever found this out was the girl that she beat, Margaret Kenny. Margaret Kenny was a spelling bee champion, and she lived in Kentucky. She was so excited to meet Sydney and hoped that they could be good friends. Little did she know that her whole life would be thrown off the rails when Sydney beat her in that spelling bee. This would cause Margaret to be obsessed with Sydney. We would see lots of posts about her online saying, "That no good Sydney Petal stole my life and stole everything from me." Was Margaret right? Did Sydney do more than just cheat at that spelling bee? Did she take the life that Margaret thought she was owed? People in town would always recognize Sydney as that smart girl from the spelling bee and that smart girl from school. But did anyone truly know her? Sydney was known for dabbling in dark literature, very scary topics. She loved scary dark romances, and she loved horror. That is one of the main reasons she bonded with her best friend Parker and her other 3 friends. These people would become like-minded individuals who were like family. They would shoot funny little videos together and post them online.
Squeak! Squeak! Oil!
Sometimes, though, Margaret would find these videos of Sydney and comment something nasty on them, such as this comment: "I know what you did! You cheated! You're a cheater! You're a cheater! You are a cheater!" Did this finally get to Sydney? Did Sydney even react to this? As far as we could tell, no, she did not. Could Margaret have really waited until the Thanksgiving night to put on a mask and attack Sydney? Could somebody else have had a problem with Sydney always going to the library and studying too much? Maybe she found something out in the archives. Sydney would be known to go to the library and study lots and lots of things. She would learn about the infrastructure. She would learn about the history of the town. Did somebody in the town have some secrets they didn't want her to find? Sydney would discover very big facts while she did her research at the library and the archives. Sydney discovered that this town was in fact built upon a graveyard. The whole town was built upon one mass graveyard. This was not done with proper permits. The town bulldozed over all the tombstones and built a new town. The higher-ups in the city didn't want anyone to ever find out about this. But through her research, she found out what had happened and what they had done to the town. So, could somebody at Town Hall want to shut her up from her new facts she had found out? Or maybe, since the town was built upon a graveyard, a spirit kidnapped and attacked Sydney and her friends. Could the Masked Man of Kentucky in fact not be a physical entity, but a spiritual entity? That would also explain why that mystical artifact caused so much trouble and mishaps.
Monster went.
Is that a clue?
That's our first clue, you guys.
Are you guys solving a mystery? Because we want to help.
It's a creepy clown.
Or maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was Margaret. Maybe Margaret did put on a mask and try to scare Sydney, proving once and for all that she wasn't such a big smarty pants like everyone thought she was. Margaret had a very vindictive personality, so maybe she could have. We tried reaching out to Margaret and found out that she in fact did not live in this town anymore and did not want to be found. But all we know is that Margaret did in fact once throw a tomato at Sydney. Sydney was more than just her brain. She was a sweet person who had a heart to learn more.
Tell us about your turtle.
His name is Jorge Bano, and I like him a lot. He's a little green thing, and that's how we
Can we really blame her for what happened? Can we hope that one day we find out more about her? Can we hope she's still out there somewhere, solving mysteries, learning things, and becoming the smartest person at the spelling bee?
Please state your name and your connection to the victim.
My name is Jill Petal, and Sydney is my little sister.
Can you explain to us what happened on that Thanksgiving night?
Well, I had just dropped off Sydney at the parking lot, as I usually did every kind of weekend. And this was like a long weekend. Our family wanted to go Black Friday shopping, as most people did, but her and her friends were going to get together. And so I could not look at any more print catalogs and stuff. So I went and took her there. And then I feel kind of responsible because as she got out of the car, I was like, see you later, nerd. And like I always did. And then this time I just never saw her later.
Explain to us what the police told you about Sydney's disappearance.
Well, I'll keep my opinions about the police in this town out of it. But they basically just said that she probably fell in love or something online and just ran off. And I'm like, all of her friends went with her. They were all in a polygamous now. Like, well, maybe like a cult thing? I don't know. They didn't even pitch that.
What do you believe happened to Sydney?
I think the masked killer of Kentucky got her. I think this person, whoever they are, dresses up every Thanksgiving, Black Friday, whenever they get the opportunity from that night. And they take on a group of kids and just, I don't know, get them. Take them? I don't know.
Do you believe Sydney's still alive?
I really hope. And sometimes I allow that hope to become fact. So, yes. Typically, I go that my little sister is alive. And
Can you tell us where you worked during the time of her disappearance?
I worked for Mayor Moore in the mayor's office. I was an intern.
And Sydney would come by the intern's office all the time to hang out. Did she ever snoop?
Yeah, she was always nosy, so I didn't really think much of it. And, of course, once she went missing, I thought of everything as many times as I possibly could, in every single possible way of what could have caused it. But she would come by for lunch, and she would snoop around the same way she'd snoop around my diary at home, or, steal my clothes or something silly like that. But I guess she might have found something that she shouldn't have found, but in my office, there was nothing there.
Was there anything mysterious going on with the mayor?
Well, that's a different story. There was some shady emails started coming in probably 6 months or so before everything really went down. Maybe a little bit longer, 8 months. I don't know. Not that it really matters after this long, but they're getting emails and threats and kind of weird things about, oh, you don't pay us back and you'll get yours, and kind of stuff like that was kind of ambiguous at first. And he told me to mind my own business, and I kind of did, because, well, when the mayor tells you to mind your business, you kind of do.
Sydney was also friends with the mayor's daughter, Kendall, who also went missing.
Yeah.
Were there any threats towards Kendall in these emails?
Yeah. That was probably the last one I saw. It said something about, you'll miss your daughter if you don't, pay up. And so when I asked him about that, he kind of just got really squirrely and collected a whole bunch of things, shoved them in his briefcase, and then ran out. Which wasn't really a normal occurrence, but, around everything else that kind of happened right after that.
Would you say you had a close relationship to the mayor?
I guess some people would say that we were close. I've been closer to other people.
Mayor Moore has a infamous reputation for starting up inappropriate relationships with his interns. Would you say that your relationship with Mayor Moore was professional?
I would say about 80% of the time it was professional. I think about 20% of the time everybody enjoys a nice workplace flirt.
Did it ever go past flirting?
Yes. Typically 3 times a week. Very healthy, vigorous lifestyle.
How did Kendall feel about you and her father having an affair?
Kendall had an opinion about everything. I remember she was always yapping about something. Like, she'd come in and it was just a total, like even if there was no buzz to kill, she'd kill the buzz. It was endearing, but also just kind of petulant most of the time, where she'd be like, oh, the power plant, it's leaking this and that and this and that. And it was like, you want your dad to pull strings for you? You want him to, figure this out for what? A hunch? And so she was there's contention, I think, between us. And I mean, we're only a few years apart in age, and that's always got to be a little strange. But she was always a very kind of immature girl, but meaning well.
A few weeks after Kendall and Sydney and all the rest of the teens went missing, Mayor Moore was found committed suicide. He had fallen down a flight of stairs and onto some bullets. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't feel like he fell onto the bullets, but I can't disprove whatever they've gone with, of course, because, it is how it is. But I always kind of thought maybe he had something to do with the kids going missing. Maybe he had a life insurance policy on Kendall and they needed to make it look convincing, and that's how he paid off the loan sharks or whoever he owed all that money to in the emails and stuff. So I've always kind of thought that maybe the guilt got to him afterwards, and it doesn't matter how many police officers you have on your side when you feel terrible because you killed your daughter.
So you believe that Mayor Moore has something to do with the disappearance then?
I do.
If Sydney is still alive and she sees this, would you look at the camera and tell her something that you want her to know?
Hey, Sid. I really do miss you. I think it's really terrible what's happened, and I just want you to come home. If you can. I don't really care what's happened, where you've been, what's been going on. I just want you to come back.
Parker Clearwater, the guy with the camera. Parker had aspirations of being a reporter and a filmmaker.
Hello, Internet.
Little did he know this dream would never come to fruition, because he would be kidnapped with his friends during one of their small film shoots.
I'm sorry.
After finding out about the masked man of Kentucky, Parker was the first person to chase after this creep. Other people would have let it be and ignored it, but not Parker. Parker was known for going into haunted houses when he shouldn't, was known for chasing after criminals and things like that. But this is the only time that it truly got him in trouble. Parker would also annoy his friends and family with his constant use of his camera.
And so, hey, so how are you guys? Anyway, so I have a question.
But Parker would never stop. This led to a lot of issues with him and his family. His older brother Scott would be the first person who became very annoyed with his younger brother. He was sick and tired of the golden child getting all the attention and constantly filming them all the time. Is it fair to blame Parker for this drama? Yes, it is. Sometimes you need to shut the camera off and just live your life, but Parker did not agree with that. Parker had to film everything and anything he could. And this would rub people the wrong way. Did Parker maybe catch something on camera he wasn't supposed to? Did he finally catch the face of the masked man of Kentucky? And that's why the masked man of Kentucky had to kill him? Or was it all a mistake? Were they just the wrong place at the wrong time? They did, in fact, chase after a creep wearing a mask on Thanksgiving instead of spending time with their family. Parker also would go through his comments on his videos and mod them, hiding certain comments from certain people so they wouldn't see negative thoughts and comments about them. Maybe one of these commenters got mad. Maybe one of these commenters did not want to be silenced, and so they took it out on Parker. Parker's parents really didn't have anything to say about him when we asked. They had, in fact, already put on a funeral for him and wanted to move past the subject. But without really knowing if he was alive or dead, could anyone ever put him behind them? Maybe none of it really matters because a transient traveler was traveling through and saw these kids with their silly little camera and decided to attack them and kidnap them and bury them in a shallow grave. Can we ever really find out what happened to Parker? Could it have been his brother Scott? Could it have been his cold, distant parents who were really tired of having their faces constantly posted on videos online without their permission? Or did someone get caught by Parker when they weren't supposed to? Maybe it was somebody illegally dumping something. Maybe it was one of the people that Parker had censored on their videos. Somebody who wanted to speak their truth and speak their mind and were tired of him blocking their comments. There are plenty of people who wanted Parker dead, but who could have done it? Or the other option is Parker still out there, making terrible podcasts and shooting videos no one cares about. Parker also was the person who took the first and only photo we have of this mysterious item, the elephant statue, that caused so much misfortune and dismayed anyone who owned it. Could Parker have been the one who took on this curse when he took that photo? Taking that photo of that scary item might have been the thing that actually gave him his ultimate demise. All we know now is that no one knows where he is or what happened to him, and to this date we might never find out. Luckily we have all of his footage to sift through and see if we can find any other clues about what have happened to Parker and his friends on that Thanksgiving night when the masked man of Kentucky showed up.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
I am Scott Clearwater. I am the older brother of Parker Clearwater. My little brother and his friends went missing on Thanksgiving night back in 2011 after a masked man abducted them.
So, is that what you've chosen to believe?
I do fully believe it. My brother Parker really liked to get into weird stuff. Him and his friends would make all kinds of weird videos, doing scary stories.
And when the lightning flashed, it went dark for a second, and then all that they saw was their friend's body hanging there in the wind.
And if there was something weird going on, he was always into it. He would always be doing Bloody Mary in front of the mirror. He was always getting into something that he shouldn't be doing. I'm a lot more of an analytical person, but he's like an artist, and he's always trying to get something scary out of videos. And so I'm not surprised that there would be a criminal in town, some sort of person just skating through, and he would chase after them with a camera. I 100% believe that he messed with the wrong person at the wrong time.
Now, are you aware that the police have not backed this story?
I'm aware that our police in town have a lot of different theories. I'm not sure why exactly they wouldn't back this story, because there was a strange man caught on camera running across town in a weird mask, and then all of a sudden a bunch of teens go missing. I don't know what else they think it would be. At this point, I'm kind of believing the police just want to cover it up to get it over with because they don't want to be dealing with this.
Now, were you and your brother close?
There was a bit of an age gap. Parker was our family's favorite. The golden child. Everybody loved him. And I wasn't even in town that day. I didn't come home that Thanksgiving because it was snowing. I was off at college. And I came home the next day when I heard he went missing. But we weren't close, and I regret it. I wish I would have been there, being a older male, like, role model to him. But instead, I was off at school still.
What were you in school for?
I was in school for microbiology. I really like it. It hasn't really gone to a career. I am actually now just working at the local library. Sadly, I had to move home because it didn't really pan out. But yeah, I was in school for microbiology.
You're aware that your brother had friends that were all kind of entangled in the story in other ways, correct?
Yes, correct. I'm aware of this. I'm aware that his friends were all tied together. They were all entangled in this. His friends were nosy. There's many times I would catch them going through my room, trying to find a mystery, trying to solve something. There's nothing to solve, man. There's nothing. And they'd all be up in something. We had Tina, who was the activist, who was always down at the power plant, always protesting something. We had Kendall, who was always up in her dad's business, the mayor. And that Sydney girl was such a nerd. She was always trying to prove something with a hypothesis. They were all very nosy children. So yeah, I'm aware that they were all involved in this somehow.
You mentioned before that Tina always kind of investigated things, looking for a mystery and protesting.
Yeah.
Were you aware that she was protesting the microbiology program at your school for mistreatment of animals?
I found that out later. I mean, I'd heard it kind of in passing, but I didn't pay attention to them. I was off in college, and these were dumb high school kids. I didn't take her.
She was at your college, was she not?
I would see her, but I mean, she looked like any old girl. She looked like everybody. There was nothing memorable about her. She was there. I saw her a couple times.
Thank you. very forthcoming with information. Now, you mentioned before as well that Kendall was always kind of snooping around the mayor's office.
Mm-hmm.
Your friends, or at least you were friendly in high school, with Sydney's older sister.
Yeah. Me and Jill, we were pretty good friends. We hung out in the same kind of like cliques and parties and stuff. We were pretty close, and yeah, I knew she got that job. She was really excited about that. Jill's always been really big on politics, and she got that internship, which was great. I was worried though because Mayor Moore had a really bad reputation. Like every girl in our school, my school, we all knew that they would get an internship there and then he would turn them out within a couple weeks. But for some reason, he kept Jill for a while. He liked Jill a lot. And I always suspected something happened between them.
Did Jill ever tell you?
Honestly, it never came up. She would always be like, if we did hang out, the few times we did while she had the internship, she would be texting some guy, an older boyfriend. I just assumed. I honestly could not be sure, but I assumed it was Mayor Moore.
Is it true that you also were up for the internship?
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to get into politics if microbiology didn't like pan out, but
Which you've mentioned it didn't.
True. And the politics were something I always thought passionately about, but I didn't get in it. I knew I wasn't going to get in it because Mayor Moore wasn't really like into guys my size. He preferred like girls. And so yeah, I was a little upset by it, but like I'm glad it went to someone good like Jill because Jill's very smart and brilliant.
How angry were you when it went to her instead?
I
Angry enough to maybe do something you regret now.
I was being immature, yeah. And I'll admit it. I sent a couple pizzas to her house at 2 a.m. I thought it'd be funny. I had a couple drinks. I'm not a big drinker, but at the time I thought it'd be really funny. And the joke's on me because they had my phone number and credit card, so I ended up just sending her pizzas. But like, I was a little immature. I was a little mad, but whatever. She got the job, and she's doing so much with it now. She's now, I think she's working at the mall. But yeah, I'm glad she got that internship. My parents do like having me home. Ever since Parker went missing, there's a void in their heart, and we've all gotten a lot closer without him and his constant filming, without him constantly being in the room, catching a moment. We're all living in the moment, and I will say we've gotten a lot closer.
If you're okay to talk about this, you're one of the few families that actually had an empty casket funeral, which brings me to my next question. Were you friendly with Kristen, who also went missing, the daughter of the funeral home director?
I had met Kristen. I kind of knew of her. Her and Parker were friends. But I wouldn't say we were like friendly. There was an age gap there. She wasn't somebody that I would know. She was a little weird, a little odd. But yeah, I was actually in talks for that next summer. I was going to work at the funeral home to make a couple extra bucks because the money's pretty good there. And luckily, Mr. Johnson, her father, was very much helpful to our family. He actually provided the coffin. And like you said, we did do a empty coffin funeral. My parents felt that Parker wasn't coming back and they needed to have some closure in that.
What did you think?
I would have liked to see a body because I still don't believe he's necessarily dead. I definitely think there's an argument for, it's been however many years now, but I still would like to know what happened there. Did he run away? Did he die? And luckily, the Johnsons were really good to us, and they helped cover a lot of the funeral costs. I did have my internship there that summer. It was eye-opening.
Do you still think your brother is out there somewhere?
I think he's still out there. I like to think that they're doing some sort of crazy mini-series filming about this guy. They've been chasing down this so-called masked man. Every Thanksgiving they find him and they film something. One day it'll be a crazy mini-series, maybe a podcast. I definitely feel like Parker would start a podcast.
Why don't you go ahead and look into the camera and speak directly to Parker?
Parker, you gotta come home. I know whatever you're doing, whether it's a podcast or a miniseries, it's important to you, but Mom and Dad aren't good, man. Mom's sick. She got bronchitis. And Dad, he's been drinking. And they need you home, bud. You gotta come back. Do it for me. Do it for the town. Richard M. Waldorf was the owner of the local power plant. This power plant supplied all of the energy for both the town and the surrounding counties. Tina was known for frequenting this power plant. She would orchestrate many protests against both Richard and the power plant. Richard did not appreciate that Tina would constantly picket his power plant. He placed a restraining order upon her, which Tina would ignore, many times having to be dragged away from the power plant by the local police. No one seemed to notice or care how much Richard was polluting the air with his power plant. Tina was the first person to bring it up at the town hall. Richard used a bunch of lofty talk in order to confuse everyone at the town hall about what the pollution was doing to the local city and the surrounding counties. Richard finally got fed up with Tina constantly picketing and starting trouble for his power plant. Richard got a hold of Tina's phone number and would call her, demanding she stopped harassing him and his power plant. On the night of her disappearance, there was a message left on her phone. Her phone was recovered from the parking lot.
My phone!
This is that message.
You little rat. You're always outside my power plant thinking you know so much better than me. Little girl, you are not sure who you're messing with. I will not rest until you're stopped. You are not going to get in the way of my business. I am not one of your little playpen pals. I am a businessman, and I have lots of work to be done. I am the only person who provides power for this whole town. You know what that makes me? Powerful. And you know what that makes you? Nothing. If I see you at my power plant again, I am going to end you. End you. So don't you dare come back to my power plant. Do you hear me, little girl? I am not going to put up with this. The cops know, everyone knows that you are a piece of garbage under my foot. I am the most powerful man in all of Kentucky. So don't you ever come back to my power plant. And if you do, it will be very, very dangerous for you.
There's also some footage found the night of the disappearance of Tina talking on the phone to someone mysterious. This is believed to be another call from Charles threatening her to not come near his power plant again.
Hello?
Who is this?
You called me. Who's this?
I asked you first, Tina.
How do you know my name?
I didn't say your name, Tina.
You said it again. Why are you calling me? What do you
You
want?
know why I'm calling you. Yet again, you're on my last nerve, little girl. I know you're downtown at the parking lot. I have cameras everywhere. And I know you're down there trespassing as usual.
After Tina went missing along with the other teens, Charles seemed to be blooming in business and doing very well. Until a few years later, he died under mysterious circumstances. After he died, his whole estate went to his much younger girlfriend, who to this day has remained out of the public view. She closed up the power plant and left it dormant. To this day, the power plant stands as a residual reminder of overdoing it and going too big. The town's power grid has now been redistributed to other cities and other towns nearby. Did Charles have something to do with Tina's disappearance? Did he hire a hitman to go after her? Is Tina still out there? Did she play a part in his mysterious death? Finally getting the revenge and saving the town that she loved so much from pollution. Could Charles have been the masked man of Kentucky? Faustus Adams was the local funeral home director and the father of Kristen.
Better
grade.
Can we say
No pens.
Faustus and his family started the funeral home back in the 80s as a pillar of the community. Being one of the few and only places in town to take your dead, they had a monopoly on the funeral biz. This led to their family being very well off and being very well renowned throughout the city. Faustus wasn't just a funeral home director, he was also a medical examiner. A body couldn't be moved through the town without Faustus Adams knowing about it. On the night of Kristen's death, Faustus was out of town at a medical examiner's convention, having no idea that his little girl had gone missing that Thanksgiving. Faustus and Kristen were not particularly close. Being his only child, he expected her to pick up the slack at the business, when in reality, Kristen wanted to get into crime podcasts and filmmaking, like her friends. Faustus didn't think it was dignified for a girl of her stature to be running around the streets at night with her silly friends. Kristen's mother, Lydia, had passed a few years prior. Faustus and his family put on a large service and everyone in town attended, including Mayor Moore and Richard M. Waldorf. The holidays were very bleak for Kristen, being just her and her father. And that particular Thanksgiving, she was left alone with just her friends when Faustus went to his medical examiner's convention. This was very common for the girl. Kristen gravitated towards her chosen family more so than her father. Faustus Adams and Mayor Moore were very close. The two had gone to high school together many years ago and had a very deep connection. The mayor and the medical examiner knew everything that was going on at all times in this town. That's what made it so suspicious that Faustus already had 5 teen-sized coffins ready to go at his funeral home for funerals that would never happen. To this day, no bodies have actually been found of the 5 missing teens. Faustus went on with his business, building multiple branches through different cities nearby, taking on new interns and new help for his funeral home. Faustus died in a mysterious accident in the cremator. The police claim that he must have fell and slipped, but they were not going to go in there and investigate it too much because they thought it was gross. Nobody really knew what happened to Faustus, but the funeral was easy because he was already cremated. The funeral home is still run to this day by one of the interns who worked with him before his passing, and the legacy lives on, but without an actual family member running this family-run funeral home. Seems a bit convenient that Faustus was out of town the same night that the masked man of Kentucky was running rampant in the town. Could Faustus have been the man in the mask? Perfect alibi, he was far away in Maryland at a so-called medical examiner's conference that took place on Thanksgiving. Or maybe he was tired of his daughter running around. Maybe he didn't want to hurt them. Maybe he just wanted to scare them away from their life of filmmaking and crime podcasting. Or did Faustus Adams know something was going to happen? And that's why he had the 5 teen-sized coffins in his inventory.
Can you please state your name?
I'm a Little Philomena. Little Philly for short.
And how are you involved in this case?
Allegedly, some would say that I'm all wrapped up in sorts of businesses outside of the norm. I would say that I have nothing but a common interest with many of the citizens of this town that we want a safer place.
You had some business dealings with Mayor Moore. Could you expound upon that?
Well, Mayor Moore and I go way, way back. He first needed a loan when he was on the campaign trail, and me, being a benevolent person, offered him, exactly what he needed, a little loan with some pretty heavy interest rates, but ain't nobody get through America without a piece of their pie. And we just continued a working relationship together ever since. It was he needed money, I had money, he wanted to gamble, I had a place.
So you have an establishment that might not necessarily be on the up and up. Would you call this a casino?
I would call it a place for people with like-minded interests to gamble together under a friendly umbrella.
And you brought Mayor Moore in, knowing that he had a bit of a gambling problem. Do you feel at all responsible for how much money he spent there?
Does he feel any more responsible for the taxpayers' dollars that he spent there?
So what you're saying is, allegedly, he spent taxpayers' dollars at your illegal casino establishment.
I wouldn't word it exactly like that, but yes.
And when he couldn't pay up, what did you do?
Well, at first it was just some of my larger friends dropping by his place of business, which is Town Hall. And then it escalated a little bit, so I would be calling, his cell phone, calling the office, leaving emails, little hints here and there that he still owes me and not all of us have a weak memory like he does.
But it never moved past that. You didn't physically go to town hall and threaten him.
Now, I'd never have to go to town hall and threaten a person. I have people that can do that for me, allegedly, if such a thing occurred.
Did any of those people happen to threaten his daughter, Kendall? Or her friends?
If that old head had a daughter to threaten, that's neither here nor there. Business is business, and sometimes people get caught up in the crossfire.
Where were you the night of November, Thanksgiving, 2011?
Mohegan Sun Casino, Northeast America.
Do you have anyone who can prove your alibi?
Anybody who has access to 15-year-old security footage.
So you had nothing to do with the masked man of Kentucky? You didn't
No.
hire somebody?
Do I look like a masked man to you?
No, you do not. But you already said that you would hire somebody.
I said I had employees. I said I had friends. I never said I was looking in the market to hire more people to intimidate and or discourage.
Through some of our research, we also have found that you have some deep connections to the local funeral home where Faustus Adams worked. Did he ever gamble at your establishment?
Well, very rarely did you ever see Mayor Moore without Faustus. So I do say so.
And then also Charles M. Waldorf, the owner of the power plant. He's one of your biggest investors. Did the mayor and Faustus know that the power plant owner was also part of your establishment?
Well, I cannot speak for what they may or may not have known, but with the way that they were all cutting up all the time, I reckon that they did share most things, most details, most facets about their lives. And a few mistresses.
We all know that Mayor Moore had a lot of young girls on his arm. Did you ever see him bring some of his interns to your casino?
Only a handful.
The one that we're very interested in right now is a girl that goes by the name of Jill Petal. Do you recognize Jill Petal by any chance?
Can't say I've ever heard that name before in my life.
Sadly, Mayor Moore has since passed since the missing of his daughter. Do you know anything about his supposed suicide?
Well, sometimes people fall down the stairs, land on bullets. I'm not a cop. If I was, I reckon I'd be arrested myself.
We have gotten some reports that the police have been seen at your establishment. Not to bust anyone, but participating in some of the fun. Would you be willing to share any information about the police force of this town?
No. No, I would not. The same way I doubt they'd be forthcoming about information that they know about you.
About me?
About you, about me, about anybody. The
We're
proverbial us.
We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about your connection with Mayor Moore and the disappearance of those children.
Well, I think I've made that pretty damn clear.
After everything happened, those children went missing. There were a bunch of calls and reports that your establishment had found some sort of item, a small statue of an elephant.
Somebody came in trying to pay off some type of debt with a blood-stained elephant trinket, and I said, that ain't no good here, honey. What are you talking about?
So you did not accept this trinket?
Well, I mean, I took the trinket, but where the trinket ended up after that, I don't know. The garbage like that, they get to fight over in the alley.
We have heard since that night that trinket has been found at different thrift stores and different antique stores, and every place that it went, a fire occurred.
Well, sometimes objects be cursed.
So you didn't have any fires at your establishment that night?
No. I've never had a fire in an old brick building.
Thank you so much. You've been very forthcoming.
I'm as transparent as a bucket of pennies.
Please take us through the events of one of your earlier cases as a beat cop, including the Kentucky masked killer.
Well, when I first started off as a police officer, I would be on patrol late nights, shifts that other older police officers didn't want to be a part of. And one night I got a call from a woman named Shelley. She had caught a man on camera running around town in some sort of mask. I thought it was some sort of joke, some sort of prank, but I was the only cop in that area, so I had to go investigate it. By the time I got there was no man, but she showed me some very grainy footage of someone running around the town in what appeared to be some sort of mask. I told my superior officers, and they pretty much informed me that it didn't really require our resources, so to just kind of ignore it.
Now, were there any investigations in or about this Shelley woman?
Shelley was not actually an upstanding citizen in this town. Her husband and her had recently broken up, and he actually was part of the police force. And so it was kind of a unspoken thing amongst the office that she wasn't somebody we should be really trusting. So we thought this might have been a prank she was fulfilling. So no, we did not investigate any more with her.
Now, since that was your main lead, where did you decide to go from there when investigating the Kentucky masked killer?
Well, we had heard other reports later on, a few weeks later. We had heard more people. By the time it got closer to the holiday of Thanksgiving, we had gotten a few more reports of somebody running around downtown. It was getting to the point where there was multiple calls, so we had to take it a little bit more seriously. At that point, nobody had really heard from Shelley, so we just continued on with the other leads, but we didn't actually look back in with her.
Now, what do you have to say to those who say if you had taken this case a little bit more seriously from the start when first reported, that a bunch of these children would have never gone missing?
We would say to those people that we have a lot of cases, we have a lot going on, and we can't follow all reports. So the resources just weren't there. If we would have followed it up earlier, who can say what would have happened? But what I know is those children were nuisances. They had plenty of reports against them. Tina, the one who was always out there protesting, there was a lot against her. We had many reports. There was a restraining order against her. She was definitely somebody that we kept an eye on. And if I knew anything about these children, they were going to cause trouble. So no matter what, there was no way we were going to be able to save these children beforehand.
I find it tremendously interesting, the verbiage that you've chosen to use around these women that you've involved in the investigation. Have there been any men that you've taken seriously in this investigation during the course of it, or have you dropped all of the leads?
Well, I will say we did get a report that one of the men who was actually in charge of the power plant, he was very adamant that we should investigate this girl Tina because she was always there and she was always terrorizing him and really getting in the way of the power plant and the grid that we have for our whole city's power grid.
Very well. So that leads me to my next question. There was another witness that was reported somewhere around it, and his daughter was involved. Kristen.
Yes. Faustus Adams, he was the funeral home director in town, and we did take it very seriously when he called. He was out of town when she went missing, so we did not get a call from him right away. It took him a couple days to get home and realize she was missing. I guess she would run around with her friends a lot of the time, so this wasn't too out of pocket at first, but we did kind of realize that we were going to take it a little more seriously because he is an upstanding citizen of this town.
Is it true that you've been close colleagues with the captain of the police force for many years?
He is like a mentor towards me. He's a very, very clever man. He's very smart. He's very brilliant. He runs this town with an iron fist, and I respect that. He knows what he's doing, and as far as I'm concerned, he has really led this town forward throughout the years.
Now, is it true that he and Mayor Moore actually went to the same college?
I believe so. They did. I'm not sure exactly. We're not close friends like that, but no, he did go to college with Mayor Moore. They were very close. And when Mayor Moore passed, he was very broken up by it. He felt like he lost a brother almost.
So what do you have to say that if these are such upstanding members of the community, to all of the accusations that have been made against the captain, saying that he's embezzled funds, misused company property, misused police funding and forces?
I would say those are unfounded. There is absolutely no proof of that, and anyone who says there's proof of that is making it up. There's nothing to prove that at all. All the funds have been distributed properly to our police force. We are out there, sharing our talents, putting ourselves out there on the line every single day. And so, yes, the funds go to protecting us as we protect the people of this town.
Was there any underreported business being conducted between the police chief and the owner of the power plant.
I cannot confirm that.
But you also won't deny it.
I won't confirm that. I will say that those children ran off. There's no proof that they were hurt or kidnapped. These kids are just some runaways. Anyone who thinks differently is living in a fairy tale world. They are not based in any realities. There's no proof that they were kidnapped or hurt. All the facts point to they left town. They probably met up with somebody online and left. There's nothing to prove that they were hurt or kidnapped. There's absolutely no police negligence. We have done everything possible to find those children, and they don't want to be found. Anyone who thinks differently, making it up.
Were there any follow-up interviews or questions done with any of the older siblings of the children who went missing?
As far as I know, none of the children have older siblings. They actually all bonded over their connection of being only children.
So you never interviewed Jill or Scott?
Who are Jill and Scott?
Cut.
After interviewing the police officer, we were left with even more questions that needed answering. According to the police officer, there were no Jill or Scott. So who exactly had we interviewed? Through a little more deep research, we found some crazy facts out. Sidney Peddle's full legal name was Sidney Jill Peddle, and Parker Coldwater's legal name, Parker Scott Coldwater. Could this have been a coincidence? I don't think so. So we scheduled more interviews with so-called Scott and Jill. But before that happened, we got a mysterious package sent to our production company. A package from a familiar name, Shelly, the single mom who had taken the first video, sent us a mysterious package. And in this package was a small DVD camcorder disc, much like the original footage was found on. I have to admit, what you see on this footage might shock you, but this is more unseen footage of what actually happened that fateful Thanksgiving night.
It was said, one year, 3 kids heard this legend and they didn't believe it. And so they dared one of their friends to go under there. He made it all the way across. And when the lightning flashed, it went dark for a second. And then all that they saw was their friend's body hanging there in the wind.
Have they caught the murderer yet?
You know, if this was a horror movie, you guys would be totally dead.
Why?
Because it's always the dumb blonde girls that are walking together. I don't want to know. Don't answer my question.
I'm busy now.
Hi.
Okay. Way hotter, you guys! Quick!
Take her hat, that's where all her power is! I have a hypothesis. It's a woman behind that mask.
No.
It's Kristen! Everybody's fine. Alright, I feel like a douche right now. What are we doing? Well, this case is in the hat.
And just like that, the case was solved. This whole time, Kristen had been the masked man of Kentucky. But why did she do it? Did she work alone on this? We had more questions to ask the so-called woman, Jill. We showed Jill the footage of what happened with Kristen's unmasking.
Case is in the hat.
Well, that pretty much says everything we need.
So now we have a basic idea what happened to Sidney. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's clear that while everybody might have meant well with an investigation and, pointing fingers and maybe even trying to uncover plots at funeral homes and power plants, that clearly it was just a troubled young girl who, needed some help, like Kristen kind of proved time and time again to be. So it's a bit like when you unmask the person that you exactly thought it would be.
So this whole time you did speculate that it was probably Kristen. In your heart, you kind of knew.
I had hunches that I couldn't shake off, but it's not the kind of thing that you can just go pointing fingers at, especially when the person is perceived as missing themselves.
Cool. So now that we know who the masked man actually was, what do you think exactly happened to Sydney?
I'm not sure. Maybe a case of teenage jealousy. Maybe they found themselves at an end and, hormones were rushing and they couldn't find a way out of it without violence. And unfortunately, poor Sydney found her end.
So you're now starting to believe that Sydney did in fact die somewhere.
Over the course of this documentary, I would say that it's very obvious that she's not meant to come back. If she was going to, she would have done so already.
So my other question, we were interviewing some of the local police who worked on this case, and we asked them about if they interviewed you. Did you ever speak to any of the police officers?
I don't think I did. It's not like I was there. It's not like I really knew anything anyway. I might have written down or, spread the information somehow of, I dropped her off at this time, but...
Okay. So we did ask him if he would consider interviewing you and talking to you. And we said, is he going to interview Jill, Sydney's sister? And this is the funny part of the weird part. There's no record of Sydney ever having a sister named Jill. And through our personal research, we found out that Sydney's legal name was Sydney Jill Petal. Can you spread some light on that?
Perhaps my parents just weren't that creative with naming two children.
So what you're claiming is that you, Jill Petal, had a little sister named Sydney Jill Petal.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little suspicious. Also because you have a striking resemblance to your little sister.
Good looks run in the family.
So what you're saying is you have always been Jill Petal. There's never a world where you were Sydney Jill Petal?
I don't think I've ever been Sydney Jill Petal. But if I had been, I think you'd have more than just a hunch or find something suspicious.
Because what I'm speculating is that something went down and your friend was wearing a mask and you decided to fake your own death and maybe get involved with some people in the mayor's office, maybe get involved with a local power plant owner and change your name to your middle name, which was Jill.
Get the hell out of my face!
Our hunch seemed to be validated in this. Sydney had never gone missing. She had been living in the town the whole time under a false alias of a so-called sister. We had to verify this though, so we brought in Scott Coldwater and showed him the same footage.
We finally know. My parents can finally have some closure. It was that no good Kristen. She was the masked man of Kentucky. I guess we finally wrapped up that case. About time. The police couldn't do it. The town couldn't do it. The mayor sure as hell couldn't do it, but we finally have answers.
So you agree with what you just saw in the footage as that being the truth?
Well, yeah, it was Kristen. She was under the mask. Yeah.
All right. Were you ever interviewed, please remind me, by any of the police or anybody investigating the crime?
Yeah, I interviewed with a police officer. He asked me where I was that night. I explained to him that I was at school. But yeah, I did interview with him.
Now, we did talk to the officer that was in charge of the case, who still works for the police department now. And he was able to vouch for the chief as well, who was involved in the case. And neither of them can recall talking to you.
What?
Neither of them talked to Scott, Parker's older brother.
Yeah, no, I did. I interviewed with a police officer. I remember him clear as day. Yeah.
Then which officer was it, if you don't mind me asking?
It's been so long. It was officer. He was like average height, dark hair, dark eyes. I've seen him around town, yeah.
Okay. Back to when we were asking the police who were investigating the crime about you, they said that there was no record of Parker ever having an older brother, let alone one named Scott.
As usual, the cops of this town don't know what they're doing. Because, like, everyone knows that I'm Parker's older brother, Scott. Come on.
Parker's middle name is Scott. Is that something that perhaps you've adopted as something?
I never... No, my name's Scott. He was Parker. What are you trying to insinuate?
I'm trying to insinuate that you are Parker. There's never been a Scott. You faked the disappearance, blamed everything on Kristen once she was...
That Kristen was a no-good girl. So you know what? She did it. She took my little brother. You know what? I'm not taking the third degree on this. After a slight outburst, our sound guy noticed that Scott, or should we say Parker, never took off his microphone and had a hot mic.
No, seriously. They're giving me the third degree over here. I'm trying my best not to say anything, but I need to know what you said to them because they seem to know a lot about us right now. No, Sydney, I'm not saying anything. But they're on to us, okay? The interviewer knew that my name was actually Parker, and she knew that my name was Scott. What did you say to her? Sydney, don't hang on. Hey, are you filming me right now?
No. At this point, we couldn't confirm for sure, but most of the facts seem to add up that both Sydney and Parker never went missing. They had both presumed false identities of being their siblings, which they didn't have. But the real question is, what happened to the other 3 teens who went missing? After Kristen was unmasked, did she flee town? And what happened to Tina and Kendall? We may never know. After we found this new information out about Sydney and Parker, we had to share it with the local police officers. After releasing this information to the local police officers, Sydney was quick to flee town. Sydney had been saving a lot of her money up, and she had a very big nest egg from her secret marriage to Charles M. Waldorf. She was in fact his secret wife that he was married to when he died. She inherited his big fortune and the whole power plant. She was the one who had all of his money and was not going to need for anything. So she was able to flee town and drop the persona of Jill. Who's to say now where Sydney might be or who she's claiming as her new identity? She could be somebody down the street, someone you even know. But what we know for sure is she is no longer pretending to be a fake sister named Jill. Last she was seen fleeing Kentucky, heading up north, presumably to Canada, where she could start a fresh new life with her large amount of money and be free once and for all of this terrible circumstance that her and her friend orchestrated. Parker, on the other hand, was not lucky enough to get away. He was quickly apprehended by the local police. Parker did not have the stomach for jail and was quick to sing and explain everything that had happened during that fateful Thanksgiving night, finally giving us some answers. Sydney and Parker came up with an idea that they could trick Kristen into wearing a scary mask and scaring the other girls. After this all happened, they noticed that Shelley was filming them. This followed perfectly into their plan of convincing people that they had died. Both Sydney and Parker needed a fresh start in the town and had plans to get bigger and better lives for themselves. Parker had already lost an internship at the mayor's office, and he was going to start a new life as his fake older brother with Kristen's father at the funeral home. Parker was the intern who was working the night when Faustus passed away and was lost to the cremator. Parker will not admit it, but the police are speculating that he pushed Faustus into the cremator. Also, he could be the sole proprietor of the local funeral home. Parker also explained that while Jill, or should we say Sydney, was working for the mayor, she found out a lot about his so-called loan sharks and all of the money he had been stealing from the town. She blackmailed him with plenty of mean, nasty emails. This did cause a lot of drama. We're not quite sure exactly who helped the mayor fall down those stairs onto those bullets, but we can't help but feel that maybe Sydney and Parker were part of this. Parker was not very forefront about what happened, but he did admit that yes, Kristen had fled town after she found out what they had done, never to be seen again. She might still have the mask, but that wasn't part of their plan and they didn't really care what happened to her. Tina and Kendall wanted to go to the police, but Sydney and Parker had worked too hard for their fresh new starts. Parker would not say any more about this. We can hope that maybe Tina and Kendall got away, living on the run from their terrible friends. Or did Parker and Sydney do something much, much worse to Kendall and Tina? We may never know this, but what I can say is we did finally get to the bottom of who the masked man of Kentucky was. It wasn't just one person. It was in fact 3 people. Kristen, the actual mask wearer, and then the brains behind it, Sydney and Parker, both of which were using their friend as a way to fake their own death and escape the lives that they were destined to. There are plenty of other questions that we might never get answers to, like who was Shelley, and why was she filming these teens? Why did she have a DVD camcorder in 2011? And why was she not at home on Thanksgiving but outside following these children? And who was Loner Wolf 6969? There's been a lot of speculations. Some people speculated that maybe it was Parker with a fake personality trying to scare Tina. Or maybe it was actually Charles M. Waldorf. These are all, of course, speculations. We have no proof of this, and we may never have proof of this. But what we do know is at the end of the day, the masked man of Kentucky wasn't a phantom, wasn't a monster. It was 2 children who had a very sick, sick plan. Sydney, the jig is up. We know that Jill doesn't exist. There is no Jill.
Kentucky artichoke. Too much.
The Midwest accent.
Came in hot.
Came in hot. I love
Came
it.
in hot.
Okay.
I just want peace and love, man.
Were you one of his special interns?
I was the specialist intern.
Catch her, okay?
Pippi on
Pippi.
Okay, everybody. We're gonna get to the stage, we're gonna jump up there, and we're gonna do a dance and choreograph dance.
All we ever do is the same thing. Like, that's the only thing I really
Really quick.
Little too low. It makes you look a little... Careful, move your feet.
Okay, everybody action, shoot. Okay, stop. Everybody run back this way. You run me and follow me, okay? Okay, everybody go this way, quick, run.
You got red
Trying to call myself.
George.
No. Scott Clearwater.
Ring, ring! Oh, goodness. My phone. Hello?
Hello. Hello. Who is this?
I don't know. Who's this?
I asked you first.
But I asked you first.
And what was your name again? Philomena.
Little Philomena. Little Philly. From Kentucky.
Break it.
I don't know what I'm doing.
So, while working for Mayor Moore, his daughter Kendall also went missing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Kendall Moore?
I did know Kendall Moore.
And
Not
what-
very well. We could have known each other better. I could have known her more.
We're like, smackdown.
Thank you.
Get that out of my face!
I don't know. My daddy wanted me to go and I didn't want to, so no.
Guys, look around quick.
I feel like a dude.
Look at those kids.
Look around.
Thank you so much. You've been very forthcoming.
I'm as transparent as a bucket of pennies.
Cut.
One second.
I hope that doesn't break.
Oh my gosh, yeah, probably gonna break. Don't do it. Yeah, it's all fuzzy now.
It was always like, my dad is the mayor. I hate my dad being the mayor. and he was like, oh, my daughter hates me being the mayor. I kind of like being the mayor, though. And then they would just like fight. Every Thanksgiving, it was the same fight. 4 years I watched them. It was an insane thing. Every single year, they'd be fine. Boom, Thanksgiving hits. You're not my real mom, Deborah. You're not my real mom, Katrina. You're not my real mom, Shelley. He had a lot of wives. I don't know if anybody ever told you that.
Whoa, hey, you have to chill with that. The virgin never dies.
No.
Officer. Trask. Officer. Door. Pull up the hat.
We have the technology.
Barely. Okay, got. That's something at least.
Crime-solving mysteries. Okay, how's that?
Okay, guys, come on.
Oh, God. That is freaky.
Guys. Come on, guys, come on. We got a short show.
Hi, I'm Taylor, and this is Mystery Hunting.
You're like running sex, and I was like,
Oh my gosh, that guy.
Wait, what was that?
what was it?
Now, if you could say anything to the masked man of Kentucky.
Duh.
Okay, and cut. I'm definitely not gonna frame you for that.
Sit back in. I think you care, please.
Stop.